Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to Tricky Jim. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 takeaways from the 2025 Pokemon TCG World Championships, which just concluded in Anaheim, California this past weekend. I'll be going over the results as well as new cards that were revealed, and then just generally talking about the spectacle of the event while we look ahead to the 2026 World Championships, which are going to be hosted in San Francisco, California next year. If that sounds good to you, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. First up, congratulations to our Masters TCG World Champion, Riley McKay, who has had an absolutely insane come up these last couple months. If you take a look at his Limitless profile, really was kind of lying low with a bunch of top 128s, top 64s until NAIC 2025, and he got a second place finish there, and then went on to win the World Championships with Gardevoir, the same deck he used to get second at the North American International Championship. So an absolutely insane come up. I saw during the World Stream he has some seniors finishes as well, so really making himself known these past couple months in the Pokemon TCG scene. An absolutely incredible finish to the 2025 season for Riley McKay. So huge congratulations to Riley. And then our second place finisher, Justin Newdorf with Dragapult Dusknoir. Apparently Justin and Riley are friends and had done some testing in the week leading up to the World Championships. So it's really cool that they got to play against each other in the finals. Gardevoir versus Dragapult is about as expected of a result as we could possibly have at this year's World Championships. Gardevoir EX was 3 out of the top 4 decks at the North American International Championships just a couple of months ago. And then Dragapult was the only non-Gardevoir deck in top 4 of NAIC. So for these two decks to meet in the finals of Worlds is just very fitting. The rest of top 8 was a lot more interesting, however. There was 2 Charizard EX decks, as well as a Goldengo deck, a Raging Bolt deck, and 2 Enzoric EX decks. Enzoric EX certainly made a statement for itself this weekend, with 2 finishing in the top 8 of the Masters division, and Gabriel Fernandez finishing second place in the Seniors division with Enzoric EX as well. Just 1 win shy of the perfect season. Gabriel Fernandez had won all 3 international championships this year, as well as 2 regionals and maxed out locals. So Gabriel was really making history by finishing in the finals of the World Championships this year. Just 1 win shy of winning absolutely everything that he could. But in my opinion, the biggest story to come out of this year's senior division is Fuguan Liao capturing the first ever World Championship title for mainland China. An absolutely insane accomplishment, as mainland China does not even have all of the most recent Pokemon TCG sets. They've been playing catch up the last couple of years with Sun and Moon cards being released and Sword and Shield cards, and now finally they are making their way into the Scarlet and Violet block, but they don't have all of the most recent expansions in mainland China yet. They're not quite caught up. So for a Chinese player to win a World Championship title in the Seniors division is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. They don't even have easy access to the Pokemon trading card game live in mainland China. You have to use a VPN in order to get access to it. Fuguan's deck was also really cool. It was an Iron Hands Joltik Toolbox deck that also featured Goldengo EX for draw and for taking big one-hit knockouts at the end of the game. I really liked this hybrid style deck, and I felt like it gave Fuguan a lot of options when playing his games, so it was awesome to watch. I also want to shout out Piper Lapine, who finished in the top 8 of the Masters division with Goldengo EX, featuring Togekiss, which can allow you to take an extra prize card 50% of the time when you take a knockout on your opponent's active Pokemon. Piper also finished in the top 8 of the North American International Championships, so back-to-back top 8s at the biggest tournaments of the year is incredibly impressive. So shout out to Piper for another awesome finish as well. Before I get to my next takeaway, I've got a quick word from my sponsor, Full Grip Games. Full Grip Games is hosting a huge $6,000 cash doubleheader event to celebrate the release of Mega Evolution September 27th and September 28th. On Saturday, September 27th, Full Grip will be hosting a standard $3,000 cash tournament, and on Sunday the 28th, Full Grip will be hosting a Gym Leader Challenge 3K event, both featuring new cards from Mega Evolution. This is going to be the first major cash event in the West featuring new cards from Mega Evolution. You're not going to want to miss this opportunity to play with the newest cards and see them in action before you can anywhere else. Signups are available now at fullgripgames.com, and of course, I'm going to be producing and streaming the entire event here on Tricky Gym Saturday, September 27th, and Sunday, September 28th. Thank you so much for supporting the shop at fullgripgames.com. Shopping at fullgripgames.com directly supports the content that I create here on Tricky Gym. My next takeaway is that there was a lot of discussion about the prize mechanic in the Pokemon TCG, especially with how some games wrapped up. For instance, in top 8 of the World Championships, Piper Lapine ended up losing Game 3 of her set because she prized 3 out of 4 Gimmighoul, and her deck can't really operate with just one Gimmighoul available. Finalist Justin Neudorf also had a game where he prized all 3 of his main attacker, Dragapult DX, and arguably seniors finalist Gabriel Fernandez would have been able to win Game 1 of the finals if he didn't have Blood Moon Ursaluna EX in his final 2 prize cards. Jake Gearhart on Twitter has been posting that he is advocating for a prize system where you draw the top 12 cards of your deck to start a game, and you place 6 of those cards aside for your prizes, and the other 6 go into your hand. Now, I don't hate this kind of idea, and I don't hate looking critically at the Pokemon TCG from a game design standpoint. I actually think it's a pretty neat idea and would probably be fun to do in testing games with your friends. However, I just don't really think it's realistic that the Pokemon Company is going to revisit the prize mechanic to their nearly 30-year-old trading card game. I will say, though, that one of my biggest gripes with competitive play right now is how long players take to do their opening deck searches because they have to figure out which cards are unavailable at the start of every game in their prize cards. So they have to take a random deck and figure out which 6 cards are missing. And this is a very annoying part of competitive play right now, and players are just generally allowed to bend the rules of the game to take minutes at a time in their opening turns to check their decks. Jake's proposed system would eliminate the amount of time it takes for an opening deck search. However, you would be replacing that with the amount of time that players would take in order to decide their opening hand versus the cards that they're setting aside for their prizes. So that's kind of negated there. From a logistics standpoint, my biggest problem with competitive play right now isn't the prize mechanic, but it's actually 50 minutes best of 3, and the way that that plays out at the top tables right now, with players having to formulate gentlemen's agreements and try to avoid ties by arguing their board states and having to scoop games super early in order to fit in a Game 3, and the amount of rampant slow play that happens at competitive events right now. So if I could have one wish granted in the Pokemon TCG, it would be to revisit the time constraints for competitive play. So for me, it feels like I'm kind of choosing my battles. I don't want to like gripe about too much, or else it's like, you know, are any of the things that you bring up ever going to get addressed? One thing I do kind of like about the draw 12, set aside 6 for your prize cards, though, is that it does lend a little bit more legitimacy to the idea of doing single game Swiss again, because you are eliminating some of your opening hand variants and prize card variants for the single game that you play. So that does kind of play into me wanting the 50-minute best of 3 situation to be addressed. At the end of the day, the Pokemon trading card game is a game with variants. That's just how trading card games are. And all trading card games kind of have their things that players gripe about. I don't play a ton of Magic the Gathering, but when I do, players are almost always complaining about being mana flooded or mana dry, which is not really a thing that you encounter in the Pokemon TCG because you have a lot more draw power. So like I said, all games kind of have their things, and variance is just a part of playing a trading card game. If you truly hate variance being involved with your game, there's always chess, right? You could just go play chess. Takeaway number 3, the Pokemon TCG reveal at the end of Championship Sunday was kind of underwhelming. Honestly, they didn't show a whole lot of new stuff or a new mechanic or anything like that. They showed some new artwork for cards that we've already seen revealed, and the new artwork is really cool. We've got secret illustration rares that are going to have the text going across them like Mega Evolution Pokemon from years past. And I think that the Mega Lucario EX and the Mega Charizard EX are honestly some of my favorite Megas that I've ever seen printed. So really cool new card artwork. But then as far as like mechanics or future announcements or anything like that, we've got 3 new cards that have been revealed. Mega Charizard EX, Mega Dragonite EX, and Oricorio EX. Mega Charizard X EX has 360 hit points, gives up 3 prize cards when it gets knocked out, and has the Inferno X attack, which costs 2 fire energy and allows you to discard any amount of fire energy from your board, and the attack does 90 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So if you discard 3 fire energy, you're doing 270 damage, and if you discard 4 fire energy, you're doing 360 damage, enough damage to one-hit KO most things in the Pokemon TCG. Of course, Charizard EX can help accelerate fire energy into play with its Inferno Rain ability, and both Mega Charizard X and Charizard EX evolve from Charmeleon, so there is some nice synergy there. And there is also the new Oricorio EX, which is a basic Pokemon with 190 hit points and the Excited Turbo ability, which says, as often as you like during your turn, if you have any Fire Mega Evolution Pokemon EX in play, you can attach a basic fire energy from your hand to one of your benched fire Pokemon. The idea obviously seems to be that you can get Mega Charizard EX into play and then use Oricorio EX to accelerate fire energy to your bench Pokemon while you take big one-hit knockouts with Mega Charizard EX. This card does kind of remind me of Reshiram and Zekrom Tag Team GX, which famously was not all that great, and also Rocket's Mewtwo EX, which famously also was not all that great. So I don't have extremely high hopes for this card. Charizard EX with Pidgeot EX just had 2 finishes in the top 8 of the World Championships, and I don't know that Mega Charizard EX is really going to bring enough to that deck to warrant its inclusion and to warrant playing enough energy recovery to use the card effectively. But maybe Mega Evolution Pokemon and their obscene amount of HP does kind of change the landscape of things to the point where Charizard EX decks will need some sort of way to reach over 360 damage. Mega Dragonite EX has 370 hit points. It's only a matter of time now before we get that 400 hit point Pokemon, 370 HP, and the Sky Transport ability, which says once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Great for mobility. And then Reuno Glide does 330 damage for a water and 2 lightning energy, and you have to discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. In standard format, if you want to be attacking with Mega Dragonite EX, you're probably playing it with Electric, in which case using Sky Transport to move a bench Pokemon into the active spot is very good, since Electric with the Dynamotor ability only charges lightning energy from the discard pile to your bench Pokemon, so there is some synergy there. And then, of course, in expanded format, you could just use Regidrago V-Star to copy Reuno Glide to do 330 damage easily. Mega Dragonite EX is also a cool tech card that you could play if your deck has issues against control decks that are trying to stall a Pokemon in the active spot. You could evolve into Mega Dragonite EX and then never get a Pokemon stuck. Just use Sky Transport to move whatever attacker you want into the active spot every turn. So that's kind of neat. All in all, for the card reveals, though, nothing too crazy. No major new mechanic announced. No new direction for the card game. None of that. Just some more Mega Evolution Pokemon, which honestly all seem kind of just big. My 4th takeaway is, oh my god, Pokemon is esports now. The Pokemon Company International pulled absolutely 0 punches with the production of this event. There was an arena where Championship Sunday took place and LED flooring that interacted with the games that were being played out on the table center stage. It was an incredible experience for fans. I heard great things from players that were in attendance in Anaheim, California. And for me, watching at home from my couch, I could not have had a better experience. The music was really cool, and I think that the musical performances really help punctuate how much care and effort has really gone into these events. I mean, there are custom soundtracks being developed for each year's World Championships. That is just a level that a lot of other games aren't at. I mean, right now there's a lot of comparisons happening between Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships and Pokemon World Championships. And yeah, Pokemon is really going above and beyond all expectations for event production right now. And I've been saying this for years, that the Pokemon Company International should be praised for this. The World Championships are an incredible event that the Pokemon Company International produces every year. Each one really feels unique and special with the art direction, the music direction, all of that. Taking a look at the last 20 years of World Championships, it's evident that the Pokemon Company International has been investing more and more into the World Championships every year and has been trying to develop them into more and more of a spectacle. And now it finally feels like we're kind of reaching the end game of that, with World Championships just being a complete esports fest every August. I know for some players, and even for me a little bit, there is some sort of nostalgia for the past events and the tight-knit community and the fact that it really was all about the players. It feels like the World Championships is starting to become more about the spectacle and more about the other offerings at Worlds, where players in the last few years have kind of been relegated to just being a side thing that is also happening at the World Championships, which is felt strange to say the least. But I do think that the Pokemon Company is addressing that, and that's actually going to be my takeaway number 5, is the upcoming Pokemon convention in San Francisco, California, Pokemon XP. As Pokemon kind of continues to grow into more and more of a stable worldwide phenomenon and move away from its humble beginnings as like a fad in 1999 and then, kind of an unpopular game in the mid-2000s, as it kind of grows into this mega corporation, mega franchise that it is now, there's no going back to the old World Championships of yesteryear. There's no going back to the small, homey little events that felt very personal. Those will always exist in our memories and photographs and other things that we have from those events, but there's no going back. I mean, Pokemon has just been getting bigger and bigger year after year. It makes sense for the Pokemon Company International to just go for broke and try to make these events as magnificent as they can possibly be. So I've really liked the way that the Pokemon Company International has been kind of developing the World Championships year after year, getting better and better at it. They work with an awesome production company, Paperlight, to help put on these events. And I really believe in what they're putting on every year now. And it's awesome to see how much care and investment the Pokemon Company International is putting into these events. My biggest gripe with the new World Championship structure is that Worlds was starting to feel like kind of a side event at a larger convention. And now they've kind of just come out and officially made it that, right? The Pokemon XP event is going to be a huge ticketed convention where they have panels and artist signings and all of the other extracurriculars that have been brought into the World Championships, including the World Championship store, which was a total disaster this year as well. So the World Championship store is going to be a part of the Pokemon XP convention, and then the convention is going to host the World Championships every year. I like that Pokemon is actually kind of calling it what it is and not making it so that the World Championships feels diluted with a whole bunch of other extracurriculars that maybe competitors don't really care about anymore. Now it's two separate events, right? So if you want to kind of just focus on the World Championship side of things, I mean, then you just go to the XP event and participate in the World Championships. And then all of the other kind of convention style stuff, that's going to be on the convention side of the event, Pokemon XP. I really like the compartmentalizing of the World Championships and Pokemon XP. It feels like they're going to allow the World Championships to kind of just be this competitive thing while not, diluting it with a whole bunch of fan service, right? The Pokemon XP event can be all of that fan service that people want. It can focus on the World Store. It can focus on buying, selling, trading. It can focus on artist signings and fan stuff, right? But then the World Championship can kind of just be about and for the competitors. That's something that I had started to kind of feel in the last few years is the World Championships even about the competitors anymore? And I do think that this compartmentalization of the convention and Worlds will allow the World Championship event to be more about the players now, if that makes sense, since there will officially be a convention that is going to be for the collecting side, the signings, and all of that other hype stuff that goes on. That about does it for my 5 takeaways from the 2025 World Championships. Let me know what you thought of Worlds in the comments below. There was the Pokemon Champions announcement, which in my opinion is really cool that they're going to be divorcing competitive play from the mainline series Pokemon games. I think that's going to allow the team to focus more on the quality of the games while separating competitive VGC play to this separate Champions application. I think it's a good thing, but, you know, I don't play VGC, so I really got no horse in that race. Anyways, let me know what you think of all of this in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll catch you next time. See ya.